So great Wednesday, Betty. How you doing?
I'm doing fine. How are you?
Doing great. And
Good.
welcome to the King Connections podcast. I'm your host, King, and I'm really excited about my guest today because after reading your bio and having a chance to visit your website and look at some of the great work that you're doing, I love the passion in which you have written about what you're engaged in, and that really brings me to my first question, which is I always like to start by finding out what people's purpose in life is. So, what would you say your purpose in life is?
Well, I would say my purpose in life is a servant leader. And
Ah,
if you take that in a business context, I believe I'm here to serve women business owners, specifically women of color, women of the underestimated community, the BIPOC community, who want to scale and brand their businesses to the next level. I feel that's my purpose.
I like that purpose, obviously, and I like the fact that you niche yourself specifically, women of color as well. And now I've worked with a lot of women of color in business, and of course, my mom, aunts, so I understand the importance of women of color and respect that wholeheartedly. So my next question would be, what inspired you to create Women Elevating Women?
Well, if you look at U.S. statistics on women and being in the women business owner business, I do track a lot of statistics, is that we have nearly 12.5 million women-owned businesses in the U.S. And they represent approximately 40% of all companies. And the revenue that they create are in the trillions. So like 1.8 trillion. But despite these women who are working and engaged as entrepreneurs, they are confronted with many challenges that our male counterparts are not confronted with. Some of them, I'll just name a couple, are like access to capital. You've probably heard that that term used over and over again, but also gender biases, in addition to being 80% of the business owners are being women. We have a lower revenue, gross revenues. You're talking about our revenues are like $100,000. And we hover around $100,000 to $250,000. And for women of color, it's even less. It's like about 24 grand. Some of them do get to the 100 to 250,000. But all women, less than 2%, have that revenue base of $1 million or more. And when you look at it by ethnicity, we're a fraction of a fraction of a fraction. So this is what inspired me to launch Women Elevating Women, or WOW.
Okay. Now, a lot of things you said there, and I can definitely relate to specifically access to capital. One of the things I say within this conscious capitalism business model that I'm implementing and being a conscious leader, it's really more difficult to access to capital because you now have a business that you have to advocate and teach people on the importance of the higher purpose behind your business, not just making money. So you got to
Right.
look for a certain investor who has that kind of in their heart, an impact investor in their context. So I can definitely relate to that. I definitely understand the wealth disparaging between women of color as well and where they fit on that spectrum, that line. So now, when you and I met on LinkedIn and we were able to connect on LinkedIn, I
Mm-hmm.
look to connect with folks based off what their mission is, what they're actually doing, not so much on their bio as much.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what attracted me to you. So I have a real process and methodology I have for establishing and building connections, relationships. So I was wondering, do you have certain key characteristics you look for in establishing relationships?
Absolutely. What I look for, because I've been in this business for quite some time, you've seen my LinkedIn bio. I came out of corporate America. I was an entrepreneur. Now I'm doing this. I considered myself retired, but I just feel like there's still more purpose for me to accomplish. So some of the characteristics I look for are women who are business owners. They're women-led companies, they're partners in a law firm or an accounting firm. And those women are not just women who are successful, and successful is needs to be defined on what is success. But these are women who are willing to share their knowledge, share their information, and to share their resources. So that's the kind of women that I'm looking for to be part of my organization, Women Elevating Women, because our group believes that we lift people as we climb. We have to get out of that scarcity mentality that we have to get what we can, because there's enough business out there for all of us. But if we just learn as women, if we learn, just as men too, if we just learn, men do it better than we, I don't like to admit that, but if we as women learn how to collaborate, to do more collaboration, do more connections and communications, and these are part of my 5 C's. Those are the characteristics that I look for. I look for it in their bios, and I look for it in the type of organizations that they belong to. Are they willing to share information to help elevate another woman?
You know, you said listen as we climb. I remember I read a report. It must have been 2013, 2014. Came out of New York called Lifting as We Climb. It talked about the wealth disparity and disparity between women of color and white women. So it was an interesting report. And when you said it, that's what brought that to my mind. You said you have 5 C's. Would you mind sharing with those 5 C's?
Sure. I have 5 C's, and these 5 C's are based off my experience in corporate America and as an entrepreneur. When you look at those who have been successful in both, there's 5 characteristics that I call the 5 C's of success. And one of them is collaborate. You find those women, I don't care if they're in corporate America or in our entrepreneurs, they know how to collaborate and they do it well. That is something that's not a stronghold of women, and particularly some of us women of color, and that's learning how to collaborate, because we can do it together faster and bigger if we learn how to collaborate. The other one is to connect, and that is to learn, and that is what I show in my organization, how to make those business connections, the right business connections, how to make those strategic introductions, how to make those strategic connections, because you just don't need to attend every event that's out there, because you could be going out every night. You need to be very strategic in selecting what that organization or what that function is doing. Do they support women? Do they support what you support? And in those regards, we teach them and show them how to be strategic in their business connections. And the other one is communicate. We talk about how to communicate. And I'm not talking how to speak properly. We're talking about how to brand. A lot of women, surprisingly, even very successful women, they still will do like a selfie and they'll post it on their LinkedIn or use it as part of their bio. But we teach them how to brand your business. When you brand yourself, is that truly, ask somebody, ask another woman, ask another business colleague, does your brand, is that a true reflection of what you're trying to accomplish? And so we speak to them about that. We bring on people on social media to help them, because there's so many different platforms. You don't need to be on all of them, but select those platforms that really speak to what your mission and your vision is going to be. And then another one is to have courage. And we talk about courage, not to be big and strong, but we talk about courage for women, how to have courage to take care of your health and how to have courage to take care of your wealth. And when we talk about your health, we're talking about your mental and your physical health, especially during these pandemic times. That was even more important, where the woman also was taking care of homeschooling ones who hadn't planned on doing that, taking time away from their job, but they always put themselves on the back burner. And you're important too. So it's important to take care of that health and your wealth. We will work, but we don't think about our about generational legacy. We don't think about putting money aside in and I'm not going to say a 401k, it really depends on the type of business that you're in, but getting with that financial planner, having them map out, not only just for your retirement, but also for your future. And then the other characteristic that I saw that of successful business people and entrepreneurs is cultivate. You will see, undoubtedly, for any woman, be it in corporate America or as an entrepreneur, that they serve on a nonprofit board. And that's a way of giving back. you'll see that there's so many nonprofit boards, and that's part of giving of yourself, giving of your time and your talents and your treasures. So for WU, what we do is that for each one of our crew, the group calls themselves the crew, the WU crew. For each one of our crews, we gift a membership. Oh, we select a woman or a girls organization that's in alignment with our values and our mission and our vision, and we gift that director or that president the membership so they can interact with these executives and entrepreneurs and scale their business.
Okay, so let me see if I can remember those five. It was collaborate, connect. Was it care?
Communicate.
Communicate. I'm sorry. Was it care?
Communicate, courage, and cultivate.
Communicate, culture, and cultivate. Okay. You know, that's one of the things I liked about your profile I found intriguing is that several things we have in common in life. Like when I first asked you, you said your purpose was being a servant leader. And for me, that's very important as well, being a servant leader in the context that I see fully the value of service. And I understand that's my role in life. And depending on where I'm at in my life, depends on how that service is given. And then you talked about connecting. I'm a big proponent of connecting. My company, King Connections, is not just a play on my name, but also I've identified a King Connection as someone who, based off their not just financial wealth, their social wealth, their resources, their experience, and their position, by them adding you to their inner circle, they can grow your business exponentially, change your life. Like I use example, a King Connection for me would be Magic Johnson. Having him as being connected to him from a mentoring standpoint, as a coaching standpoint, or just being able to advise and connect. And so with that being said, do you have successful business women that you admire currently, that you look to and say, this is somebody either I am connected to or that I want to connect to, or I just admire in general that successful business?
Sure. I have, with the Women Elevating Women, I have an advisory council, which you'll see on the website. But I also, I want to say past month, I've selected some women that I admire, their business acumen. I've asked them to be my business advisors. That's the advisor to the CEO. And I had, at our pre-conference, I had two of those women. One was the keynote speaker, opening keynote, and one was a closing. They were both ranked as number 1 and number 4 of 50 fastest women-led owned businesses by J.P. Morgan Chase and the Women Presidents Organization. So working with women like that, I have one of those that was the 50 fastest is my advisor, and that's Kimberly Bunton. She is one of my advisors, along with Phyllis Newhouse. She is one of my advisors. They both have very accomplished businesses. And so I've asked them to help me through this journey because there are things that I'm strong at, and there's things that I need support in. And my big question to women is, it's okay to not know, but it's not okay to not know and not ask. And so I've made those asks of those women.
Okay. Excellent. What do you think are the best ways for building new business relationships? I know you kind of outlined your 5 C's. What do you think are the best ways for building new business relationships? I know you outlined that coming in your 5 C's, but you can expand on that.
Sure, absolutely. I feel the best way to build those is for you to identify with a peer advisory group. I don't care if you're a man or if you're a woman. If you're into business and you want to scale, it's challenging when you have a business challenge or a pressing issue to come home, discuss it with your partner or a significant other or your family, because they don't want to hear that. So you need to be in a group with like-minded individuals that are willing to hear your situation. That's why I'm a huge advocate of peer advisory groups, because what I've learned is that you don't have a corner on the market in terms of that issue or challenge. Someone who's in business has experienced it before. And how we learn best is hearing what their experiences were and how they address them. There's so many groups out there. There's Vistage, that is for men and for women, but the ones I'm most commonly aware of that are peer advisory groups are my own, the Woo Crew, and women presidents organizations. And I'm sure there are many, there's novel, doesn't necessarily have peer advisory groups, but it's women who are working together for a common cause, and that's to scale their businesses. For me, with the Woo Crew, where I'm different, and I would say that my signature is that people tend to lean towards those that are doing, 1 million, 5 million, et cetera. In my group, all I require is 6 figures. You can be 6 figures gross revenues in your business or as an entrepreneur, or as an executive. Because I figure an executive who has 6 figures is running some sort of P&L. So in my organization right now, I have women that range from 6 figures all the way up to 16 million. So they work together along with the executive because they share some insights as well. So the best thing that I can offer to anyone is to find your group or create your own group. But you need to be in a peer advisory group because in my group, I assign them each an accountability partner. Because if you don't have an accountability partner, you sometimes go astray. And then we have a format where we help them put together, or they should already have, we maybe refine it, a strategic business plan. And we'll review that plan with them. And we have them bring 2 business actions and 1 personal action. But it's good to be in some sort of group of people that they don't have to be your friends. And they don't need to be in the same business. In fact, it's best if they're not in the same business because they can provide you with a different perspective. But find a peer group that you can meet with on a regular basis. I suggest monthly at best.
I think that's excellent advice. Absolutely. Of all the things that you accomplished in your life, what would you say has been the most rewarding to you?
The most rewarding, I love having adult children. That's very rewarding to have adult children and seeing that your pearls of wisdom and your lessons learned and taught, and they're all grounded spiritually, that they're following their dreams. I love that. I love it very, very much. And that's on the personal note. But on a business note, I would say my biggest accomplishment is really kind of twofold. One was being able to go out and start a boutique property and casualty company where we had to go on Wall Street and raise capital. And that was a lesson learned, a learning experience coming out of corporate America. But having had that experience, and our first infusion of capital was 10 million. Now that might sound like a lot, but back then it really is surplus. So going out and having that experience, now being able to share with these women right now, though my information is dated, but I'm able to share with them that there is a process that you can go through. And you have to do an assessment of your own business as to, do you need the capital? People say access to capital. And I know that's a vernacular that we're not real comfortable with. Do you need venture capital money? Or do you need an angel investor? Or do you just need a small business loan? So I'm able to share what my lessons learned, some of my missteps, what some of the landmines are. Being able to do that in a format like Woo has been very fulfilling.
Well, you kind of spoke to my next question, which is, what do you see are some of the key mistakes that businesses make with regards to raising capital?
I think one of the biggest mistakes is to not understand the language. I didn't grow up sitting around the table at dinner time talk about venture capital or angel investment. Maybe some people did, but I was raised on a small farm and we were talking about, what time we're going to get up and feed the pigs and feed the chickens. So we didn't have that kind of dialogue from the small towns that I grew up in. And even when I went to college and afterwards, didn't have that kind of conversation. In corporate America, didn't have, even I was a C-suite executive, didn't have that conversation. So, in terms of lessons learned and what people need to, some of the biggest missteps is do your homework. Coming from the conference, one of my advisors said she takes an hour every day out of her time just to read something or to learn something new. And that is something that I'm going to incorporate into my program, particularly when it comes to venture funds. There are a fraction, less than 2% of women are in VC funds. And if you take a look at 2% people of color, and that includes men that are VCs. If you look at women, it's even smaller. have a meeting, set up a session where you find someone who is willing to walk you through the terms so you fully understand what you're going to be engaged in. Too often we think that the VC money, oh, that's free money. No, 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 boo. They're going to want a seat on your board. I mean, there's something in return. There's going to be a time frame that you're going to need to, that they're expecting. I feel for those companies that were engaged or had VC money during those pandemic times, because you have to understand those VC money, they have to give a return to their investors. But I don't know how that worked, and don't know anyone who was in the midst of that, of taking VC money during pandemic times when things were crazy and people didn't know what to do. But those are very challenging times. But don't feel like you know it all. Always study, learn more if it's in your field, especially in this capital. This capital, I learned a lot when were in the pandemic with the PPP, with the idle. Met with the senators, Rubio and with Cardin, and was able to share that information with our group and our audience. So you need to study. If it's an area that you're not strong in, it's okay to ask and to find out who knows, and ask if they will take some time to meet with you. And it's better if you're in a group, because the person's time is very valuable. One-on-ones will occur if you know the person personally, but generally, if you can get a group and ask that person to speak to your group of business people that you work with, that's even more favorable to them. So I say take that time, take that hour to learn something, read books. There's a lot of books out there that I could begin to list, but I always have my favorite, which is called The Blue Ocean Strategy. Now they have The Blue Ocean Shift. That book is current today. It was written like 15 years ago. It is very applicable right now as a business owner, and how to scale and how to shift.
Thank you for sharing that, because you just added something I want to add to my repertoire as far as questions to ask. And that's going to be, what book do you recommend? Because to me, I think what books that people read speaks a lot of their character and, of course, their competence stuff. And, I love the tips you shared as far as, reading every day, reading something new every day. I'm an avid reader. I love to read. I believe in not only reading something every day, but reading out loud every single day, just so I can hear my voice and hear how that tone, and hear how my tone is with the words that I'm reading. So definitely thank you for that advice. I love the fact that you said, look to go out here and, build relationships, because I think so many people miss the importance of that, of building relationships, and they go straight for the transaction without really understanding that most people do business with people they like.
Absolutely.
If I don't like you, I'm not going to do business with you. Especially people who are successful, and you're looking to do business with them because you're trying to grow from their success and build yourself up to that level. So my next question would be, do you mentor young women? Because you have obviously a lot of great advice, a lot of great experience, and just want to see that you share that with a lot of young women.
I have been a mentor for over 20 years. I am a chair for an organization where there's at least 20 women in a group, and I've been chairing different groups, 3 groups, for 16 plus years, and then outside. So what I don't do the one-on-ones anymore. And that is because, over time, that can be draining. That's not to say people out there don't do that. And if you need that one-on-one, I'm not a personal coach. I'm not a business coach. I'm a business strategist. So I do group facilitation for people, but one-on-one coaching I used to do maybe 20 years ago, but there are people out there that do that. But I've been mentoring. I mean, I would say right now I've got at least 50 plus, no more than that with my Woo crew. They call me all the time. So I have at least 60 women right now that I'm mentoring. In fact, I schedule them. They all get 1 hour in a year. They get 1 hour. And for me just to review information. Of course, when we get in the group, they can talk about it more. But that's part of being a business leader and being an impact person, is to giving back. And giving back is not just in money, but it's also sharing your time and your wisdom. So I do. I'm a firm believer. When you give, that's a good feeling.
Yeah, Maya Angelou once said, when you give, when you learn, teach. So just having that kind of as a philosophy and mentality is key and important. Um, Another question I want to ask you is, I want to set the context. Um, in our world of conscious capitalism, sustainable business models, we throw the term out conscious quite a bit. People say I'm conscious, et cetera. So for me, I've defined what I consider to be 8 core virtues that I believe exhibit a conscious leader, and that I hold myself accountable to those as well. And I just share those virtues with you. Number 1, I believe a conscious leader is someone who's principle centered. Number 2, someone that's value driven. Number 3, someone that's action oriented. Number 4, results focused. Number 5, growth minded. Number 6, servant leader. Number 7, accountability acceptor. And then number 8, grateful spirit. So for me, that's what I hold myself accountable to, and those are the kind of people I look to connect with. So I was wondering, do you have any key characteristics of virtues that you look for in leaders that you add to WE.W?
They really fall under my 5 C's. I
Okay.
really do look for people who are able to collaborate, because not everybody wants to collaborate. They have that scarcity mentality, that there's not enough out there for all of us. So it really is people who are willing to collaborate, people who are willing to connect, people who are willing to make those strategic introductions. I will tell you, and I've witnessed it. Though you see people scale and they do well, it's those. You can have all the certifications you want; those are important. But it's unless people know you. When you make that strategic introduction, that you basically have been vetted. Like if you were to introduce me to somebody else, it's a layer of vetting that's already taken place. They can say, well, hey, Pink introduced her, so she's good. Let's talk to her. But trying to do it as a cold call makes it that more challenging. So people have to be willing to do that. I'm not saying you just need to go out and blankly. You need to know the people. But if it's people that you know, and you know that they're trying to get to the next level, because there's always someone that you know or somebody else's know that someone else will know. Do those introductions, and that's how we scale, and that's how everybody wins. And we just do, and I look for that characteristic, and I also look for people who give. I take a look around the room for women who are on boards or not on boards, and I ask them, "Hey, do you want me to get you on a board?" Nonprofits are always looking for expertise. They're always looking for people who volunteer. Now, I'm also working with people to get on for-profit boards once they have that experience. But you just don't go immediately to a board. You need the training ground in a nonprofit. So I look for those people who have those characteristics, who want to cultivate and develop others. And then also, people in terms of the courage, it is important, and that's why I have doctors and I have CFPs, financial advisors, in my group. We should want to help each other and to elevate each other. We should want to edify each other. We should want to validate each other by recognizing if someone posts something that they got an award, just, hey, it's not that hard to say congratulations. We want to help people scale and elevate. And that's what a lot of people are fearful in doing. And if I find that people are unwilling to do that, then those are the type of people that I want part of my organization.
Absolutely. Well said. And I definitely understand that, and I see the value in that. Getting there to my last 2 questions. I know that you're going to be speaking at an upcoming conference, Rethinking Accelerating Diversity in Women's Leadership in Business. And I just wanted to get what are some of the highlights from your speech you're going to share on some transformations and innovations?
And I have a think. I think it's the one I did this morning.
Okay.
Yeah, with Women Business Collaborative. I'm on that advisory board, and it's a global advisory board with men and women. And so I was with 2 other women from WeBank. Most women know what that is. That's a certification that you are a woman-owned business. They have 18,000 women that have been certified. And then another individual called that's in Springboard, and that's helping women raise capital. And then there was me. And so the facilitator was asking us questions on what are our insights and what do we see. So it wasn't a singular speech, but they want to know our insights. What can we do to help, particularly women, not just women of color, but women of color, the BIPOC community? What can we do to help them scale their businesses? So that was the context of our conversation. It was a very fruitful one. And WeBank does have a conference coming up in June. those type of organizations, I would encourage people to, and then there's the National Minority, it's a long name. I told them they need to shorten it, but it's the National Minority Supplier Development Council. And our area, our affiliate is Sharon Pender, who is the CEO and president. And it's the Capital Region Minority Supplier Development Council. Get involved with those organizations. They hold classes. If you become a member, they hold classes. They're instructional. That sort of information is what we need to pass on to others. And so I always try to post something. If you follow my posts, I try to always have post something of encouragement, because we need to continue to lift each other up and post positivity. And that's how we scale.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I just want to share this with you that, going back to a comment or answer you gave earlier, you said that one of the most rewarding things was being a parent of adult children.
Yes.
And I thought about that in the context that I know that I didn't really appreciate my mom until I was an adult. In my 30s. That's when you realize what your parents were really doing for you, as opposed to being inhibitors in your life. They were protecting you. And so with that being said, let me definitely wish you a belated Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day.
Thank you. Thank you. It's never belated.
Okay.
Because I'm still alive, and for you to say it is well received. Thank you.
Well, definitely. I think you definitely need that acknowledgement and that recognition. But I just think that was a beautiful thing to say in the context, because, so many people are so business focused that they don't look at that part of their lives as being rewarding as far as within that answer. And for you to say that first, I think that's something that speaks a lot to your character. So definitely.
Oh, well, thank you.
And my last question would be, with King Connections, what would be who could be a great connection that I could refer to you as someone that you would find value and benefit?
Well, it's twofold. There are women that you probably come across that don't know about Women Elevating Women. And they're struggling. They have no one to talk to. They need a peer advisory group, and they're at that level where they're at six figures and they're stuck. So refer them to me. Share with them to become part of our organization. We have a full membership. We have what we call the cohort. Monday is the last, the last Monday of the month. The fourth Monday of the month is the last time for you to become part of the cohort, and then we'll start a new class in April. And then we have what is called the members at large, and that's for women who cannot attend on a monthly meeting. But for those women, and also right now, I'm raising capital for to take care of my operating expenses. I need a marketing person. I need this, and I need the capital. So that's what, coming back from the conference, my advisors sat me down, and that's what my task is for the rest of the week. And part of next week is that we're putting the numbers together so we can go out and make those asks, legitimate asks of this is the capital that we need, because it's going to benefit, as I call, the underestimated community.
Absolutely. Well, thank you. Do you have any, I definitely want you to share your contact information that you would want folks to follow up with you that have any questions or they want to get connected with you. And then any final closing thoughts you might share as words of wisdom.
I think it's important that we don't underestimate the value of edifying others. If you think from the time you were small, you got an applause and that makes you feel good and that excites you. But don't underestimate the importance of being a human and wanting to belong to something. By elevating, by validating, by edifying other individuals, by saying, great job. You might not know them, but if you see a business accomplishment, give them an attaboy. I mean, especially if you read what they've done. It's okay to acknowledge other people. And that is what's going to make us as a group, as a collective force, much stronger. So I encourage us to continue. If you're not doing it, do more of it. The last thing I want to share is to eat every day. And I try to make this a point to see what have I done for at least one person. Have I given them a nugget, or I've given some words of wisdom, or I've given them an attaboy? If you can do that daily, to find that one person, it doesn't have to be one of your friends, but someone that you're connected on LinkedIn, where you see something that they've done, is to give them a congrats. There's nothing wrong with that, and elevating them. And I just ask everybody to keep elevating.
Absolutely. And thank you. What about your contact information? Want to share any of that?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Your contact information?
Oh, sure. They can go to WEWcrew.com, WEWcrew.com. And there they'll see how to connect. And my admin will, if you want a business appointment, she'll set that up immediately. I'm told not to manage my calendar because it's all over the place. So go to WEWcrew.com and you'll see everything about us. You can read about the WEW Crew. And if you need more information, they'll schedule an appointment for you.
Well, Betty, thank you very much for joining me on today's show of King Connections and bring your spirit, your energy, your passion, and just being a servant leader that you are. I appreciate all the words that you've shared. And I'm definitely going to take a lot of things you said to heart. And I bless and wish you a productive rest of your day.
Thank you for having me. You take care. Keep elevating.
Thank you.
Bye.